Hi Siri, I'm looking for a new podcast, one that preferably is hosted by a UF Hall of Famer, one that airs every weekday that would bring me everything I need to know about the Florida Gators, including news, analysis, and opinions. Siri, is there such a show?
Have you heard of Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or any podcast platform?
Oh my gosh, why didn't I think of that? UF Hall of Famer Shane Matthews has a show every weekday. I'm going to go check it out tomorrow. Thanks, Siri.
Good morning and welcome to a Wednesday edition of Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. JC and I are taped. You'll have a live second portion of today's show with Kyle Crooks and Chris Harry will break down the basketball game. Gators play the Aggies of A&M. It seems like we play Texas A&M
all the time,
every year and every possibly year. JC, how are you, my man? You're on the Titan Bar Hotline.
Yeah, man, thanks. Doing well. Yeah, you're right. Florida plays A&M all the time. Georgia never plays them. So I'm fine, dude. It's middle of the week. Here we go.
That's right. Not a whole lot to talk about. Obviously, I guess some news and notes that Jaden Rashada has asked Florida to get out of his letter of intent, which I think they should let him go wherever he wants. I think that's the best thing. I know the Gators are trying to get involved with Walker Howard, the quarterback out of Louisiana. I know Billy Napier and his staff have a good relationship with him. I think he's a really good player. I personally think he's a better quarterback than Jaden Rashada after watching a little bit of tape. But we'll see. I know Ole Miss is in the mix after he left LSU, so who knows what's going to happen. You got any thoughts on that, JC?
Well, it's I'm just like you. I'm. There are so many unknowns. I just simply want to say this: if a kid doesn't want to play at your school, in spite of what you may have read in various sporting publications, then you can't make him want to. And he's going to make the decision that he thinks is best for him. Florida will continue to exist with or without this kid. So I've never really lost a lot of sleep, QB, over guys who have signed or didn't sign at a particular school. You're going to get some hits. You're going to miss some guys. That's just part of it. And I really think people who lose sleep over this need a doctor, because it's not a big deal to me. I mean, it's so you miss out. He doesn't sign with you. If he wins the Heisman Trophy, then he wins the Heisman Trophy. But, you just got to play with who you have, and you got to play with the cards you're dealt.
I agree 100% with that. It's my whole thoughts are the whole issue is ridiculous from the first. I mean, it's just ridiculous. And I mean, we don't even know how good this player is.
That's right.
And, I've said it multiple times. He was offered, whether it's true or not, more than about 75% of the damn people that play on Sundays that are pretty good players make. So it's crazy. Gators have picked up, a big offensive lineman out of Alabama that will help, I'm sure. Ricky Pearsall, as we mentioned the other day, is staying put. So, I think Gator fans need to just get behind the basketball team right now and not worry about football right now. I think Billy and them have a plan. I believe in their plan, and I think it will be good. They've added 2 offensive linemen, one from Baylor and one from Alabama.
Yeah,
so,
Damian George. He's pretty good. Yeah, I mean, if he was good enough to play at Alabama, he played a bunch of games in 2021, I want to say. I think that's right. But regardless, anybody who Coach Napier thinks can help this roster is certainly welcome to come and try to contribute and get on the field. I mean, you can only let 11 guys play on offense and 11 guys play on defense, QB. We make such a big deal out of the roster and out of so many people that play. At the end of the day, to use that overused cliche, you're only allowed to play with 11 guys at a time. So he's going to find the best 11 he can find. And, I think anything is better than what we've had. And I certainly expect an improvement on a 6 and 7 season. Now, I mean, that's really all I can say. I mean, we've got spring practice coming up. Right now, Todd Golden and the Gator basketball team are getting ready to try to, play well and get that record looking better. And the baseball team, is getting ready to crank up. That's what I'm going to be thinking about mostly at the current time.
Yep, no doubt about it. Speaking with JC on the Titan our text line. Are you in the market to buy or sell your home? Darlene Weavy, your realtor, Caldwell Banker, Emmett Parish, will value fast, friendly, reliable service. Call her today at 352-562-1411 to help your dreams come true. We are taping this Wednesday edition. You will have live Kyle Crooks and Chris Harry talking Gator hoops. I'm busy in XFL training camp, trying to prepare for the season, in meetings all day long, practicing and all that kind of stuff. So
when does that start?
I'll be honest with you, I don't really know what's going on in the sports world, JC.
Yeah. When does it start, the season that you're involved in? When does that start?
The first game is the weekend after the Super Bowl.
Okay.
You know, it's crazy. I saw this weekend, and we talked about it on Monday, but I saw the last half. I should say the last half and about not even 2 full quarters in the second half of the Jaguar game. And the only game that I saw Sunday was a part of the night game because we were busy with practice and meetings and stuff. So, unfortunately, I missed it. I know it was good stuff, but that's part of the territory. Lots of meetings and practice time.
Well, that's right. You're a coach, and you gotta get that squad ready and your position group ready to go.
You know, it's crazy. You know, I was talking to our coaching staff, JC, and I told them, I said, coaching in the XFL is like coaching in high school football. And here's why I say that. Well, here's why I say it, because, you know, when you coach professionally, like in the NFL or you coach at college, you are drafting or you are signing kids to fit your system, okay? Well, when it comes to the XFL, the way, you know, who can go into the draft pool and all that kind of stuff, there's a lot of rules and stuff. But you get who you get, and then you guys say, okay, it's just like when people enroll in your high school, okay? If you're, you know, a lot of these coaches that are a wing T type team, well, if you don't have anybody to run the wing T, you got to change your offense. Or if you like to throw it and you don't have anybody to throw it, you got to change your offense. And that's how I equate this to. You got to figure out what you have your first week or two of practice, and then you got to adjust and put a system together. So it's a grind. It's interesting. It's fun, but it's definitely, you just can't, you know, because you don't know who you've seen tape of these kids, but you haven't seen tape, if that makes any sense.
What does it look like player wise? I mean, these guys haven't played football, I would guess, in a while, and so we have like it's a mixture of, you know, we have a few NFL vets, then we have some guys that just got cut at the end of the season and didn't get re-signed. So you have those type of guys. Then you've had some that have been out of football for 3 or 4 years that are trying to make it again. So when I tell you it's a work in progress, it's a work in progress. Yeah, well, you know, there's going to be plenty of players that I'm sure fans have heard of and seen before in many cases, and it'll be fun to see how this league evolves and who's the team to beat, who the coaches that are the most charismatic, and what's going to be the most enjoyable thing to watch in something as new as this. And we're certainly eager to see how you guys and the Orlando Renegades perform, because, you know, there's a local interest there for us. So we're excited for you, and I hope things work out well. And I can't wait to get my visor and go see a game down in Orlando. That'll be a lot of fun for us to make a trip and do something like that with my friends. So we're looking forward to that. When exactly, can you tell us when or how much longer, like how long is training camp and when does the season start? Well, they do have a website that you can go to that has a schedule. I don't have it in front of me, but they do have internet service with the XFL, where they have a website. And we have, I think we have the first cuts on Saturday. I think there's 76 players at camp right now. You got to cut it down. Then you can only keep 50 total. So, you know, crunching the numbers, how many linemen you got to keep, how many wide receivers you're going to keep, how many quarterbacks, how many, you know, linebackers. It's hard. 50 players is not a lot. No, it's really not. Yeah. Well, the league's got some interesting twists to it, and the rules and things of this nature that we'll get to learn about and watch. Will they have the microphones on the field for us fans to listen to, like the coaches from the booth and the coaches on the sideline talking?
I have no idea. I don't know. I mean,
you better watch yourself, QB. You better watch yourself.
I'm not calling the play, so they probably won't have me mic'd up. So
okay, all right. Because I've seen you in game action. I've seen it. Well, that'll be fun for us. Yeah, QB, we got 4 big games this weekend in the big league, and the thing is that I think all of them you can pretty much toss a coin, except for the one that I'm most interested in, unfortunately, because I just don't see how Jacksonville's going to keep up with the rest of Kansas City team. You know, Kansas City, when having a week off, Andy Reid has never lost. So it's a tall order for Jacksonville to go to Kansas City, and it really does suck to think of how close it was that Jacksonville would be hosting another game this weekend with the way the Buffalo-Miami game went and with the way the Cincinnati-Baltimore game went, where both Cincinnati and Buffalo were very close to getting beat. You know, those scores were closer than you might have thought, and had both won, Jacksonville would have been hosting the Dolphins this weekend, and just think, or not the Dolphins, but the Baltimore Ravens this weekend, and that would have been thrilling. But as it stands, I just don't see Jacksonville going into Kansas City and winning that game. But I'm not gonna go in there without any hope. I do think we're going to see a tremendous, highly competitive game between New York and Philadelphia. I think that could be the closest and maybe the most competitive game this weekend. And I still think the 49ers are the team to beat in the NFC.
I mean, I agree with you. It would not shock me at all with the Giants, what Brian Daboll's done for them to beat the Eagles. I don't know why. I have a feeling that they're going to do that. But
just like the way their quarterbacks play.
Yeah, Daniel Jones has played outstanding football. You know, could you imagine if the Giants and like the Cowboys were playing in the NFC Championship game?
Yeah.
But I don't see how the Cowboys can beat the 49ers. I really don't.
I don't either. I think once they're healthy with Samuel, Christian McCaffrey, they've got weapons with Kittle, and Brock Purdy he's not making any mistakes. And he seems to really like what Kyle Shanahan has wanting is what he wants him to do. And defensively, D'Amico Ryan, the great former Alabama defensive player who's running their defense in San Francisco, is just dialing it up. And I think the 49ers are the team to beat, not the Eagles. I think Jalen Hurts is not 100%. If he is, he hasn't played truly in about a month, even though he played a little bit there a few weeks ago. He wasn't his best. I just think the Eagles are in trouble. I just think that, and I think that in the AFC, we're basically destined to see Kansas City and Buffalo play in Atlanta. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Bengals beat Buffalo, but I still think Buffalo is going to survive and win at home and play the Chiefs on a neutral field.
Yes, that's what I was going to bring up. So if Kansas City and Buffalo both win, they play in Atlanta, correct?
They're the NFL wanted that. I would have preferred them to have an open-air stadium playing in Chicago like it would have been played otherwise, but instead they've decided to keep it in a dome. For some reason they picked Atlanta. I think it would have been easier for the fans if they had picked maybe Indianapolis or Pittsburgh, but they went with Atlanta, Georgia. I can't really say why.
That's going to be really interesting if that does happen, which I think it's going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think the Kansas City and the Buffalo fans are going to travel to Atlanta for that?
Yeah, that's the thing. You would think that either fan base is hoping to make it to the Super Bowl. Not that the Super Bowl offers an enormous amount of tickets for general public or for the fans, because it does not. But I just don't think so, QB. I mean, I could be wrong. I mean, these are great fan bases. Kansas City throughout the season has gone everywhere. They follow their team. They're crazy fans. Same with Buffalo, as we all know. They're just like Green Bay. They're just like Dallas. But, yeah, I mean, they'll get some, but I don't know if it would sell. I just can't really say. I don't know, QB. That's a tough call. I just think they should have made it closer. I mean, geographically, you could have played this game in Indianapolis, and it might have been a little easier. But fans are going to probably get on plane and fly, and it really doesn't matter at that point. But in terms of driving, Atlanta is not the desired. I don't think that.
I mean, maybe they should have put it in one of the 3 cities in the state of Florida. That way, maybe those folks would want to take a little vacation. Down in the state of Florida.
Well, we got room. Miami's open, Tampa's open, Jacksonville is now officially open. So listen, I want to see the Jags compete. I want to see them play tight. I want to see them play a tight game. But I just think Kansas City is just going to be too much coming off an open day. Again, Andy Reid does not lose when given an open week, and hasn't yet as head coach of the Chiefs. So I think we're heading for that. In the NFC, I think it's going to be San Francisco and New York. That's what I think we'll see, and that game will be played out west.
Yeah. Let's get to this day in sports, which is brought to you by our good friends at Comfort Temp. Comfort is our business. Peace of mind is our promise. Give Comfort Temp Heating and Air a call today at 353-376-3366. This day in sports, listen to this, JC. In 1995, the LA Rams announced they were moving to St. Louis. How about that?
Yeah. Georgia Rosenblum, Frontier, I guess. She was married to Carol Rosenblum. He died. She was a widow. Georgia Frontier moved that team out of Anaheim, California. And St. Louis embraced that team and, of course, had one of the most memorable years in the NFL with Kurt Warner in 1999, winning the Super Bowl in his first year. And he could have easily won 3 Super Bowls. He's a Hall of Famer. He won 1 out of 3. Lost in the final seconds to New England in his second Super Bowl, and lost in the final minutes to the Pittsburgh Steelers when he was quarterback of the Arizona Cardinals. And I follow Kurt Warner. I love Kurt Warner. And that was a good time in St. Louis. But they had some lean years there as well in St. Louis. QB, one thing I wanted to mention also with that Giants-Eagles game, that Adoree Jackson is a really good player. And, the key to Philadelphia, I think, has been the connection between Hurts and that big wide receiver. And Jackson really locked them up in one of those 2 games they played. I guess it would have been the first one. And those guys are healthy. And the Giants, I think, just really match up well with Philadelphia. Now, I'm not saying I would bet the Giants without the points, but I think the Giants could win this game. And, I think Philadelphia I just think they're not going to win the NFC. I don't think they're going to win the NFC.
All right, before we get out of here, JC, and turn it over to Kyle Crooks,
okay.
Let's get to the Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's #1 choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte surrounding areas. Go visit them at peachland.com. We got to do our PGA Tour picks. You got your handy-dandy spiral notebook?
Oh, wow. You got me here on this one. I didn't think about that, but you're right. It's Thursday. And then we'll do the football games on Friday, I guess. Okay.
The American Express out at the TPC Stadium course out in California. I won the last tournament, I believe. We forgot the Sony Open because we were morons, but I have a lead. So I get first pick. That's the new rules. Whoever has the highest point total, and you got to tell us what the points are. Next on Friday, have your handy dandy notebook, and I am going to take Tom Kim, better known as Yu Young, as my first pick. Who do you have?
Well, I like Xander Schauffele here. I'm going to take one of your guys.
Oh.
I like Xander in California. I love him in California.
Yeah, he's coming off a back injury, so good luck with that. Give me the UCLA Bruin. I think he is Patrick Cantley.
That's a great player, man. This California, the California side of the tour is just, because it's the beginning of the tour season, it's just kind of tough. You really look for guys who can play on different grass out there. I'll go with. This is going to be tough. I'm going to go with John Rahm, who has already won. I just like the way he's going. I'll go with John Rahm.
He's a pretty good player, by the way.
No, he's okay. Yeah, he's okay.
My third and last pick, I will go with Cam Young.
Yeah, guy hits it 10 miles in the air. Just a great player. He'll win a major at some point, maybe this year, but I do agree with you. He's a really up-and-coming superstar. I like his game. I'm going to go with a name that this is coming out of the blue, but this is the kind of tournament that Charlie Hoffman could win. I'm going to go Big Charlie. I think Big Charlie's kind of guy. He's like that Harry Higgs. He just kind of travels around, and you never know. You look up at the scoreboard on Sunday, you go, where the hell has he been? And where's he come from? Give me Charlie Hoffman.
All right, JC, before we let you go, I need you to just read, hey, Gator fans, go honor Florida legend Stephen Orr Spurrier, as Steve Spurrier Way is officially unveiled on February the 10th, 2023 at 5:30 p.m. at the promenade in front of the Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Celebration Point. Go Gators. JC, are you going to go watch the Coach Spurrier get a street named after him?
No, I might as well. What else do I have to do on February?
Yeah, February 10th. Make sure you put that on your calendar, man.
Okay. We'll talk about it, I'm sure, as we get closer as well there, boss. All
right, that's JC joining us on the Titan Number Hotline. Going to take a timeout. Come back. You'll be joined by Kyle Crooks and Chris Harry live from College Station, Texas, talking A&M and Gator basketball. You're watching and listening to Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Be right back.
We want to take this moment to thank our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official injury and accident law attorneys of the Florida Gators. Peaceland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise.
Campus USA Credit Union.
QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Dave & Buster's, eat, drink, play, and watch. Our gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, Chris Doring Mortgage, Silverback Concrete Co., Ruse Ogre State Farm Insurance, Doreen Wibby, Realtor Caldwell Banker, M.M. Parish. Our touchdown sponsors are Adams Ribs, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteak, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Aver and Smith, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you're interested in promoting your business on the show, call Freddie at 352-284-3733. If you like what we're doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Hi, Steve Spurrier here. You know, making a reservation at my restaurant is easier than a Saturday afternoon homecoming game against Vandy. You don't have to call or email. Just go to spurriers.com, hit the reservation button, pick a date, a number of guests, and a time. It's so simple, I can do it. In fact, I just did. Maybe I'll see you tonight.
Pro football legend Emmitt Smith understands your joint pain.
It does not surprise me that there are a ton of people out there that's in pain.
That's why Emmitt is such a proponent of QC Kinetics, offering real lasting joint pain relief with non-surgical, all-natural biologic treatments.
Whether it's a joint pain, ankle pain, shoulder pain, neck pain, back pain, hip pain, any kind of pain, the body eventually will break down when it's under that much stress.
That stress can cloud your judgment to the point that you'll just say yes to the scalpel or yes to another prescription of pain pills. But maybe it's time for a second opinion from QC Kinetics.
The reason why I would recommend this is because the natural biologics that QC Kinetics is providing you gives your body a chance to naturally heal itself.
Restorative, regenerative solutions are here. Get lasting relief and live your life.
Call QC Kinetics, 352-400-4550. That's 352-400-4550. QC Kinetics, 352-400-4550. D.
We want to take this moment to thank our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official injury and accident law attorneys of the Florida Gators. Peaceland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp. Comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise.
Campus USA Credit Union.
QC Kinetics. Live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Dave & Buster's. Eat, drink, play, and watch. Our gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, Chris Doring Mortgage, Silverback Concrete Co., Ruse Ogre State Farm Insurance, Doreen Wibby, Realtor Caldwell Banker, MM Parish. Our touchdown sponsors are Adams Ribs, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteak, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Aver and Smith, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you're interested in promoting your business on the show, call Freddie at 352-284-3733. If you like what we're doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Back here on the show, second half of Matthews in the Morning. Kyle Crooks from the Gators Sports Network. We also got from FloridaGators.com, senior writer. You know him, Chris Harry's joining us. Looks like he's very cozy in his hotel room in College Station, Texas, getting ready for Gator basketball game here tonight. Gators look for 4 in a row. Chris, how are you? Big one here tonight in Gator Hoops.
Yeah, forgive the casual nature of this position. This is one of those kind of European hotels. There's no desk, so it's a reason not to get out of bed. So that's fine.
Well, it's about I don't know. This is what 7:30 over by you. It's an hour earlier.
7:26. Yeah,
7:26.
We got.
We're making you get up a little early here for this.
That's all right. That's all right.
But Chris, tonight you have this Gator basketball team playing a lot better. Obviously, a rematch here of the Texas A&M game a few weeks ago, a frustrating home loss. What are some of the bullet points, key things you're looking at tonight for this Gator basketball team?
They're pretty easy. They were kind of laid out by the coaches and even the players in the media situation yesterday. Let's start with turnovers. Florida turned the ball over 20 times in the first meeting, led to 21 A&M points. Unsustainable stuff. They've taken care of the ball. I want to say they've taken care of the ball a lot better since, but having said that, I think there were 13 turnovers in the first half of I guess it was the Missouri game the other day. But they've been better at taking care of the ball since the A&M. One of the other things that was just atrocious was straight line drive baskets by A&M. They got some pretty good guards. Talk about Wade Taylor IV, Tyrese Radford, good players, man, and they got way too many situations. Like I said, straight line drives, 2 easy finishes. I think 38 points in the paint. Again, the Florida defense, since they fixed some things in Portland, has been too good to allow that to happen. I think that those two things were, like you said, bullet points, or I would call them points of emphasis going into this game, especially on the road. And finally, how about not starting down 11-0 every game or whatever? It's been 7-0 at Auburn. I think they're down 20-10 against A&M in the first game. Let's see, what was the next game? Georgia scored 13 points in a row, took a 13-point lead in the first half. LSU was 7-0. The other day against Missouri was 11-0. The only lead in those games Florida had was when Will Richard hit a technical free throw because Buzz Williams' managers forgot to bring the uniforms to the game, and they were assessed an administrative technical. So Will Richards hit a free throw with no time on the clock, and then they threw up the jump ball. So, I talked to Kyle Crooks yesterday. He goes, every game we say, let's not be down 7-0, guys. And every game they're down 7-0. He's like, imagine if we were up 7-0 and what kind of vibe that'll bring. So those are some kind of things that I would look for. I think if the Gators were to check 2 of those 3 boxes, they'll be in good shape and maybe put themselves in a position to steal one on the road. This is a good team. Florida's 0-6 in quad ones this year, Kyle. Yeah. This is their first quad one opportunity since the Auburn game that opened the SEC season.
Do you think that Coach Golden tweaks the starting lineup a little bit to get a faster start, or is it something that eventually they're going to – because you maybe don't want to tweak what you have coming off the bench either.
Right.
That seems to be working. So it's kind of like it's a double-edged sword, right? I think I'm using that cliche correct. But
that's okay. That's okay.
I think – what do you hear and what do you think they're going to do tonight?
I mean, my guess, that he did allude to that yesterday, and the obvious switch is Myron Jones for Trey Bonham in the starting lineup. Myron has been really, really good in league play. The last 3 games, he's played over 90 minutes. He's got 2 turnovers in that time. He's shooting 45% from the floor, 50 from 3. His assist to turnover ratio is fabulous, and he in the back with Kyle Lofton is giving the Gators some poise. It's weird. Kyle Lofton, the last 2 games, he's got the offense has looked really good the last 2 games at times, especially in the second half of both those games. He's got 0 assists in either game. And for a guy who's played 130 college games and averaged more than 5 assists a game for his career, it's kind of weird, but it also suggests that he's getting guys where they need to be, and the offense is working because other guys are getting assists. Now, obviously, if Myron Jones is in the game, the odd man out is probably Trey Bonham, or is Trey Bonham. Now, he may have hit a wall from mid-major from Virginia Military to SEC because he's having some troubles protecting the ball. His shot is really inconsistent. He's had 3 games this year where he hadn't scored. And of course, in the A&M game, this is where you maybe have to balance some things. He had the game high 21 points in that game. He hit 4 threes, but he also turned the ball over 7 times. He and Castleton had 13 of the team's 20 turnovers. So I think that's the route they're going to take, but they're not filing Trey Bonham away. They're going to need him down the line. He's a good on-ball defender, and he can make shots. He's not doing it so consistently right now, game to game, but they're going to there's going to be growing pains with him.
Gator fans, come honor Florida legend Steve Spurrier as Steve Spurrier Way is officially unveiled on February 10th, 2023 at 5:30 p.m. at the Promenade in front of Spurrier's Gridiron Grill in Celebration Point. As always, go Gators. And Chris, you look at Myron Jones. You mentioned Myron, and he's very interesting. And you get to know these players more on a personal basis than, say, probably anybody. How do you think he's dealt with the ups and downs? And it's been a little bit more downs, I think, in his Florida career. But this is an accomplished Division I athlete at Penn State. We know the numbers, shot 40% from 3 at Penn State, comes here, and it didn't work. And now, he's plus 16 the other day against Missouri. He's a big part of these wins. He's a guy that you root for. Personally, how do you think Myron Jones has dealt with the transition, maybe not going as expected, and hopefully trying to get a good end here to his collegiate career?
Yeah, well, I don't think I'm talking out of school to say it's been obviously frustrating for him because, like, to your point, 40% in the Big Ten. He was honorable mention Big Ten twice, I believe, up there. And he was recruited to Florida because of his ability to knock down 3-point shots. And I think he was 32% last year or so, something like that. And he started off around, I think he started 20% this year. But he's working his way back. And what I got to give him props for is, I tell you what, Myron has a great smile. You just don't see it that much. You're starting to see it a little bit more because it could have easily, with the frustration, he could have tanked out, I would think, because this is his last year. He decided to come back. He obviously had transfer options, but he decided to give this one more chance to try to fix whatever went wrong last year. And it wasn't working initially, but it is working now. And I think the coaches praise him because, okay, maybe he's not shooting great, Kyle, but he's making winning plays, and he's playing like an older guy. And you got Kyle Crooks. You got Kyle Lofton, 5th-year dude, Myron Jones, 5th-year dude, Colin Castleton, 5th-year dude. It's probably not that rare nowadays in the transfer world, but for this particular team, those are the leaders on this team, and those are the guys that are making a difference the last couple of weeks as this 3-game winning streak has developed. And remember, Florida's been in every game in the SEC. They could have stole one at Auburn. They're kicking themselves over the A&M game. Obviously, the other games could have gone either way, but they won those games. So they put themselves back in position to maybe become more relevant in the SEC, as it were. But I'm looking right now, Kyle, at the schedule. 8 of the next 13 on the road, 2 obviously on the road this week. Get this, okay? So they're at A&M. They're at Mississippi State, which got up to number 15 earlier in the season and gave Tennessee a pretty good game last night. South Carolina beat Kentucky. They're at home. That's a home game next week. The Gators will be favored. But at Kansas State in the Keontae Johnson. Then they're home against top 10 team Tennessee. Then they're at Kentucky. Then they're at Alabama, which is looking like maybe the best team in the country right now. So the coming weeks will tell what this season and the postseason possibilities will be. And it's a very, very demanding schedule, but it's a very, very demanding league, obviously.
Mm-hmm. At Chris Doring Mortgage, they do mortgage lending right, helping home buyers throughout Gainesville, North Central Florida. Call Chris Doring Mortgage today at 352-244-0840. You talked about the rest of the SEC. I was watching Mike White's Georgia team last night. Give Kentucky everything they can handle at Rupp Arena. He's done a really good job. What, Chris? They won 2 SEC games last year.
1-17. They were
6-3-2 now.
They were 6-26, and they're 3-2 in the league now. Yeah, they're 1-17 in the league last year, and you can look at who they've beaten or whatever, but they've got a couple road wins and stuff, and they're being competitive. He had to rebuild the team basically. I think he had 2 or 3 leftovers from last year's roster, but Mike's a great coach, and he's all right. He's not maybe he's not a great coach. He's a very, very good coach who had his flaws at Florida, and maybe he's been able to self-evaluate and figure some things out. But he's in a good position now, and the Gators are happy with the position they're in right now. So I like to see him do well because he's a good guy and was a class actor in his time here. So
yeah, he's done a really, really good job early on in his tenure at Georgia. Peachland Dentistry, Gator Nation's #1 choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte and surrounding areas. Visit them at peachlanddental.com and join us on Friday for our Peachland Dentistry JC and the QB weekend picks. Rest of the SEC right now. You talked about Alabama. It's probably the best team in the country. I was looking at the scores on Saturday, watching the Gator game, and I saw the ESPN bottom line. I think it was like 62-22 or something that Alabama was beating LSU at that point in time.
Good grief. Yeah.
And Vanderbilt gave them everything they could handle last night. But you look at Alabama, maybe Tennessee, who had somewhat, I guess you can call it a slip up against Mississippi State yesterday. It was a little closer than you thought, but probably not. And then the rest of the league. Do you see anybody else in maybe that category of Alabama and Tennessee in the SEC?
Well, of course, going into the season, everyone had anointed Arkansas as a true factor, but they lost Trayvon Brazile a big to a season-ending ACL injury, I believe, and then Nick Smith, who was the number 3. You look at every NBA mock draft, he's in the top 5 of those things, and he was hurt early on, missed I think the first 5 games, came back a little bit, then re-injured some things, and that. I don't think the guy's coming back if he's a potential top 3 pick in the NBA draft. It's January. I don't see the situation there. So Arkansas, a little bit of disappointment at 1-4 in the league at this time. You can't rule out Auburn, and I'm sorry, you can't rule out Kentucky. They have an awful loss and several of real bad performances relative to what the expectations are there. But I think in the South Carolina game they were missing Jacob Toppin, and the other guy, Casey Wallace, I think left the game with an injury. So there's some things you can look at that, but come February, let's see where that team is. And I think I just glanced over Missouri, which except for those 2 losses last week, I think they jumped to number 20 in the country. So it's a good league, and there's some. I think it's a little more top heavy than maybe some people suggested. But I think when you're talking top heavy, you're talking about Alabama, you're talking Tennessee, and another team I glanced over are A&M. They're 4-0 in the league, and they're up there. They and Alabama are the only undefeated teams in the league. So the Gators will have a chance to, like I said, to kind of have a signature road win, if you will, in a game like that, because this is a hard team to beat. Florida's lost to A&M 3 times in a row after kind of having their way with them since they came into the league. So that's kind of evened out a little bit. But there's, to your point, Richard, there's definitive things that this team has to do better to be in a game against A&M. And it wasn't that long ago, 13 days that this game took place. And Buzz Williams is at home. He's a very, very good coach. But the Gators know they can't play giveaway. The Gators know they have to defend better. and the Gators know that they can't dig themselves a hole right out of the box from the tip-off.
At Comfort Temp, comfort is our business. Peace of mind is our promise. Beat the summer heat and the cold, I guess. Schedule air conditioners, tune up today. Also, keeping you chill and away from the Florida heat. Comfort Temp Heating and Air calls today, 352-376-2366. It's been a lot of heart thumpers against A&M. You mentioned the 3 straight losses. I think in the SEC tournament last year, this year, the one possession game. These two always seem to have a pretty good series between them. A lot of really good games between Florida and A&M.
Yeah, this game here last year and 2 years in a row, I think. No, I guess that they were on the road here last year. They didn't play twice in the regular season. But Florida was up 2 with 20 seconds left and fouled a 3-point shooter, as something that happened quite a bit last year defensively. And I think it was Wade Taylor. He hit all 3 free throws, and then Florida had a chance to. They're down 1. They lose by 1 on the road. The SEC tournament game you referenced in Tampa, I think Florida was down 16, came back to actually took the lead, put that game into overtime, and a guy who was shooting 18% from 3 in SEC play dropped a 3-pointer, his third of the game, of course, from the top of the key, with I think it was 1.1 second left in the game for that game, and then of course the one they had the other day. So it's been tough going for the Gators. So maybe they can even it out tonight.
Let me ask you this, and then maybe we'll switch over to a little bit football, Gator football, maybe some NFL.
Oh boy,
there's a lot to talk about there, Chris. Maybe some things you can or cannot talk about. But we'll start here. If you've got joint pain in your knees, shoulders, hips, or back, that won't go away. You need to check out QC Kinetics for long-lasting relief. Not surgery, drugs, or downtime. Schedule your free consultation at QC Kinetics with locations in Ocala and now open in Gainesville. Number to call, 352-400-4550. So we see the reports last night about Jaden Rashada possibly asking out of his national letter of intent for Gator football. I don't know what you could probably talk about, so I'm not going to necessarily ask you to go deep into that. I was talking to Sean Kelly the other day, and we brought up this topic, and I kind of told the same thing. There's not a whole lot you could probably shed light on in this situation. But I'll ask you about the quarterback room, because you bring in Graham Mertz. A lot of people weren't very enchanted or enthralled about the idea of a guy. I think he was 6 touchdowns, 26 picks or whatever. And then you have Jack Miller, who we saw in the bowl game. He obviously hasn't had a whole lot of collegiate time. And then there's a name out there, Walker Howard from LSU, who's now entered the transfer portal. It could be an option. I believe Billy had recruited him in the past. How do you foresee things shaking out maybe in the quarterback room with the idea that, okay, Jaden Rashada is no longer in the picture?
I was just Googling around a little bit about Walker Howard, and, the Jaden Rashada thing has obviously just captured the imagination, I guess would be a nice way to put it, of Florida Nation or whatever. But Walker Howard Jaden Rashada was the 57th ranked player in the country, the maybe 6th or 7th rated quarterback. Walker Howard was the number 1 dual threat quarterback in the country. So he went to LSU and he got beat out by a pretty good player, obviously, who Gator saw up close and personal, another transfer. So not a bad plan B if that's certainly the one down, what they're going down. I remember his dad, Jamie Howard, quarterback at LSU in the 90s, played against Spurrier, was pretty decent. I think he was a real good baseball player too, if I'm not mistaken. But he's from Lafayette, Louisiana. So obviously it just makes sense. There's a connection there. And again, I don't know if that's the route they're going to go, but I'm pretty confident that they're looking to add to that quarterback room. And let's not forget that once the spring practices are all over, there's going to be more quarterbacks in the transfer portal, because they'll realize that they're not the QB1s at their respective places. So it's not over yet, and fans will grumble. But I think if you look at some of the other things that Billy's doing in terms of some of the things he's doing, if you go by this recruiting news, the Alabama transfer offensive lineman, they've got a linebacker from Ohio State. They're the high school recruiting is much better than it was for the previous regime. Was this a PR kind of hit with Rashada? Yeah, it didn't look great, but it doesn't mean it can't be fixed. And what, 6 and 7 last year? I think the bar is as such that it can be achieved next year. The way this team is being rebuilt. Did a lot of players leave? Yes, but they let them walk. Okay, so there's probably a reason for that, and I think you got to give the guy a little more time. Obviously, just the nature of fans just fire this guy after 1 year, that's not how college athletics works right now. Okay. It may sound easy. I mean, people want to get, they're firing. I remember Dan Mullen was supposed to be fired after he lost to Kentucky in his second game. He ended up going to 3 New Year's Six Bowl. So, kind of let things play out a little bit and see where that all stands. But I imagine the quarterback room is going to look who knows, some of the quarterback guys in the quarterback room right now after spring may transfer, right?
Yeah.
But because they can.
Yeah, there's so much unknown, and I want to get to this point just about what coaching staffs are dealing with this current climate of college football. Ruse Ogre State Farm Office is a team of dedicated insurance professionals ready to help life go right with the right insurance options for you and your family. Visit ograinsurance.com or call us at 352-240-1779. When you try to build a roster in college, it's much different now than it was in years past. You're almost looking at 1 year at a time. This is my team here this year, even more than the NFL is now. It's how do these coaches even deal with any of this at the moment?
Well, I mean, I'm not really connected to this, but I mean, from what I just look at the numbers that are being thrown around monetarily, just some at here and other schools, just that are being reported. So, I mean, you're talking about, and you got to have a spreadsheet now to know what guys are getting, I would think, right?
Yeah.
And there's no salary cap at the same time, but I mean, the money isn't infinite. But I just go back and I use the anecdote. We're talking about this particular player wants, $1 million or $500,000 or whatever, and you hear about this. And all I know is a guy like Torian Green, who's the director of player development for the basketball program. He's not allowed to work guys out at particular times, but you can pay players X amount of money, and it's right out in the open. So this is not college sports that I am really in tune with, like I said. So I think a lot of people were figuring the stuff out on the fly. The NCAA didn't do a particularly good job, and I think setting up some ground rules, as it were, or structure, and probably in turn individual programs probably are kind of creating their structure on the fly as well. Mm-hmm. And I can't give a definitive answer because I don't know what goes on behind the scenes. I really don't.
Right. It is something that is worthy of a documentary. Just every offseason of what is, especially specifically for this Gator team right now with all the.
It sounds like how every football program needs a general manager, right?
Yeah, You're going to get.
They have scouting departments. They need general managers. Maybe So you got your scout. They do that already. They have transfer. Pre-portaling scouting, and they have high school scouting. So it's getting closer and closer to an NFL kind of model, I would think.
Peachland Dentistry, Gator Nation's #1 choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte and surrounding areas. Now it's time for. Well, it's not time for the Peachland Dentistry JC and QB weekend picks. It's time, I would say, for Chris Harry's picks. Who do we got this weekend in the NFL? So we got some good matchups.
Okay.
We'll start here with the Jags. Okay, obviously down 27-0. Come back. Trevor Lawrence throws 3 interceptions in the first quarter, 4 in the first half. Comes back in the second half, different player. I say that touchdown before the half did a world of difference for them because it gave him some confidence. Defense was playing okay up until that point. They go to Kansas City now. Patrick Mahomes, on the road, got beat up against the Chiefs earlier this year in the regular season. Who do you got in this one?
I'll take the home team. I've been to Kansas City for a playoff game. Actually, was there for one they didn't win back during my covering the NFL days. But Patrick Mahomes with a bye week. I don't think that the Trevor Lawrence is going to be able to go in there and throw the ball all over the place. I think they got to try to run the ball a lot with ETN and what have you, and maybe kind of keep the ball out of Mahomes' hands. So I would think. What's the spread in that game, by the way? Double digits?
I think the last time I heard it was actually 9.5. I don't
okay.
quite double digits. 9.5.
Okay, that would be something kind of iffy or whatever. But I like Kansas City. Just imagine if they're doing the NFL desk with all the people picking and stuff. I imagine it's going to go Kansas City, Kansas City, Kansas City, Kansas City.
Yeah. Well, here's an interesting thing. Trevor Lawrence never lost on a Saturday in his career. That game is Saturday at 4:30.
How about that?
He's never lost. And so my thing is I'm a Jersey guy. So watching the Giants come back, I'm not a Giants fan, but this has a lot of the markings of that 2011 Giant team with Eli Manning. Giants weren't supposed to make the playoffs. They had zero expectation. Daniel Jones, all of a sudden, he's a guy that everybody wanted out the door. And now they might pay him $45 million a year to be the franchise quarterback. It's crazy how things change fairly quickly. They beat the Vikings on the road. Eagles, number 1 top seed in the NFC. I kind of like the Giants in this game to pull off. There's always one egg, Chris, in the NFL playoffs every year of a team that has to sit out that bye, has that home field game in the divisional round. I think it's the Eagles that lay that egg. Jalen Hurts, I don't know how healthy he is at the moment. Giants are playing some really good football right now. I think they have a legitimate chance to win this game.
Well, as well as Jones did chucking the ball around. I mean, what makes him so dangerous is his ability to run. And I mean, and when I'm talking about that, I'm not talking about like 6-yard runs. He can go 25-yard runs. And he looks good running the football. So, I mean, Philadelphia had a couple stink. I think they lost to the Commanders at home on a Monday night or Monday night or Sunday night or something like that. So they're vulnerable. They're vulnerable. And to your point about Jalen Hurts, how healthy is he? But I'm a big guy with that bye, and there's only 2 of them this year as opposed to the last where there's normally 4 during weekend. I'll probably lean with the favorites. There's going to be a road team that is going to steal one. I haven't heard so far. Give me 2 more because someone's going to steal one.
Yeah, Bengals Bills is another one. Bengals going to Buffalo. I like Joe Burrow. Do I like him that much to beat Josh Allen? Now the Dolphins almost got him with Skylar Thompson. You'd have to think if Tua was playing that game and he was healthy, there's a good chance Miami's playing this weekend. And then you got the Cowboys in San Francisco. Dak Prescott coming off probably one of the best games of his career against Tampa Bay.
Which was coming off a horrible game the week before. It's one of maybe his worst game of his career.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Bengals, Bills, and then Cowboys at Niners.
Cowboys at Niners. That 49er defense has been spectacular all season, and I don't know, man. Brock Purdy is a pretty good story, but I mean, does that magic continue through a playoff run all the way to the NFC Championship game? That may be the one for me that kind of jumps out. If Dak Prescott not even replicate what he did the other day, just not turn the ball over and leave that Dallas let that Dallas defense kind of do a thing, and maybe Micah Parsons gets to know Brock Purdy a lot in the backfield. But I don't know. I mean, I would think that Miami Dolphins got the Bills' attention, and another for another home game there. I'm gonna go Bills, and I'm gonna say the Cowboys go and steal one in San Francisco.
Yeah, so if the Cowboys do win, you have an all NFC East, NFC Championship game, a division that you're very familiar with. I know you're a Washington fan, right, Chris?
Longtime frustrated Washington fan.
Yeah, you got your ownership change in a little bit, so it's
I hope
going to start to look a little different. Fingers crossed. Chris, appreciate you, man. This is a fun half hour chatting with you. It's always great catching up with you. Enjoy the Gator game tonight. Hopefully the Gators can keep it rolling 4 in a row if they get a win here tonight against Texas A&M. It's always a tough team to play for the Gators, so hopefully they can keep it rolling here tonight, and appreciate you hopping on with us.
All right, Kyle. Take care. See you.
All right. That's Chris Harry. Shane will be back tomorrow. I'll be back next week. All right, everybody. Take care.